Hey, it's David back on BreezeFlippers, back in my shipping room. Got some orders to ship out for this weekend, and I have some subjects I want to talk about today. First of all, is eBay dead? Well, it might be for some. It hasn't been for us this week, not a terrible week. But there's been a lot of stuff happening the past couple weeks that has kind of gotten a lot of attention. A lot of prominent YouTubers that are leaving eBay to just go sell full-time on other platforms. I thought this was kind of an interesting subject and one that we might dive into a little bit. So let's get into it. All right, it wasn't a particularly great weekend. It wasn't like a lot of sales, so literally only have 4 sales being shipped out. And that doesn't mean anything. I'm filming this a little early on Sunday because, as you know, tonight's the Super Bowl, and I like to just sit out there and watch the game. I don't have a dog in the fight, but I am rooting for the Eagles, so we'll see. All right, anyway, so I do have a few things to ship out, and I wanted to get them done early, but I wanted to shoot this video too and talk about my subject, is eBay dead, and show a few things that sold. First of all, let's show a couple things that sold. It would be weird. So if I'd have sold a hat this weekend, I'd have hit the trifecta of hats, comics, and video games, but I didn't sell a hat. Sold one earlier this week, I think, but not today. But I did sell some video game cartridges, and we test all these before we do anything. I also clean them, and you know what I also do is I mark them with a, I don't have one with me, but I mark them with an infrared pen, so that way I can take a look and say, if somebody was to try and send one back and say it didn't work and they sent me back the wrong one, it's just a precaution I take. I've not had that problem yet, knock on wood. But I did sell these, and they did go out for $19.99. I got $5.99 shipping, and yeah, that's a good deal. And I like selling those cartridges because they're relatively easy to test if you have the right machine. I also sold a few comics, and those are what we got left. But this one is Sergeant Fury and his Howling Commandos, number 105. It's a 20-set comic, and this is in good shape, actually. I was just looking at it today and going, I hope I probably maybe undersold it, but I put a VF on it, but quite honest with you, I literally don't see any spine breaks on it, or spine ticks. I don't see any color breaks. The corners are sharp, so this guy got a good comic, and I think for a good value. He paid $17, and with all my comics, they go out for $5.99 shipping. So I was talking a little bit about, is eBay dead? Well, my eBay this week hasn't been completely dead. I'll be honest with you. I'm not displeased with it. Again, I'm a part-time seller, right? So if I make over $500 in a week, I feel like I've done good. This week we're at $728, so not going to complain. It's not $728 a day. It's not $1,000 in a week. But hey, right now I've been hearing a lot of stuff about people saying how slow eBay is, and it's just kind of, I think there's a lot of pieces to this and why it's so slow right now. And I'm not going to get into a whole economics discussion, but let's be honest, the economy is a problem. I mean, we're paying $12 for a dozen eggs right now. I was at the grocery store yesterday, and I think they had a HELOC application right there with the eggs, so that way you could take out a small loan to buy eggs. If you bought 18 eggs, it was $12.97. It was like $7 for a dozen. So eggs, chicken, it doesn't matter. It's like all going up. So even there's a new government, new regime, new everything, it's still, inflation doesn't turn on a dime just because someone steps in there and tries to fix it. It's still going to take some time, right? And so the economy's still rough. There's people are still out there suffering, still making, but we're still selling things. We're selling comics. I mean, we're selling video games. So these aren't things that people need. They're not like trying to buy clothing, or they're not buying socks or shoes or, necessities. These are things that, people are spending some money on, and they're still buying it. So there are still things like this being sold. It's just not being sold at the level that we would probably all like to see, right? So, so is eBay dead? Well, I mean, for some people it might be. We've seen some, this past couple of weeks, we've seen ADH Dave. If you watch him on YouTube, he's left eBay. He's basically shut down his store, and he's selling everything now on the District app, which is dibdit.com, and Dibdit threads and Dibdit cards and all the different Dibdits that are out there, Dibdit this and Dibdit that. But there's a whole bunch of them. So he's out there selling all this, and he's doing pretty good. He's selling off his entire inventory, and he's going to do that for a few months. Now, truthfully, he can go back to eBay at any time. Maybe it'll work better for him, maybe it won't. But I think this is kind of interesting because it brings up a really interesting idea or fact, is that, for a lot of people, eBay's not the only market out there. There are some extremely successful people that I know that do nothing but Poshmark. There are some extremely successful people I know that do nothing but Mercari. It's where they put their focus, right? So if your focus is in that market and that's the only focus you have, you're going to probably do very well. There's a lot of people that do very well by being on Whatnot only, right? Or there's some people now that are going to be doing it on Dibdit and they're doing it only over there. So wherever your focus is, as long as that's where it's at, you're going to probably do as good as you can out there, as much effort as you can put into it. But when you look at it, eBay is still always going to be the 800-pound gorilla in the room, right? I mean, eBay's been around since the middle 90s. I think 1994, 95, I can't remember the exact date. They started with Auction Web. Auction Web became eBay in 1997. That's when I joined eBay. I was actually on Auction Web when it came out. Yes, I'm that old. I was in college actually then, but I was an old college student too, so because I just gotten out of the Army. But yes, I was in college, and I remember when Auction Web came out, and I actually did sell some stuff on Auction Web. It was a different time back then. In 1997, in October, I switched my account over to the eBay. And so I've been on eBay since then. And honestly, eBay has never been bad to me, right? So I've never been just mad at eBay. You know, I get frustrated. Everybody does. Nothing's perfect. But eBay's always been that 800-pound gorilla. And for the longest time, eBay had no competition. Nobody, really. I mean, little businesses started up here and there. I think the first real test for eBay was Amazon. I mean, Amazon came out and changed the way people buy, right? I mean, Amazon started out as primarily books. That's all they sold. And in no time at all, they started, you know, delving into the third, you know, basically third-party marketplace and allowing other people to start selling. They became very big, very fast. They're huge, bigger than eBay, right? So I think that was their first real competition. And, you know, eBay probably could have made some changes then and done some stuff, but, you know, they haven't. Because just recently, eBay announced that the fees are going up. And it's, you know, on paper and you look at it, it's not a huge amount. But if you take that amount and spread it over an entire year, if you're $100,000 a year on eBay, you're going to pay a little bit more money, right? So that's more money out of your pocket, more that you have to try and sell, or more that you have to try and, you know, find more profit, right? So you're going to have to try to figure out a way to make better money, buy better buys, reducing expenses or something, because you got to pay the 800-pound gorilla. So I think that's why a lot of people are doing cross-listing. They're trying to, you know, dip their toes in other markets to see what's going on. That's why people maybe are jumping off and going to something like Dibdit.com and trying different things. That's why a lot of people went to Whatnot. And, you know, it's all, you know, they're all good markets. There's nothing wrong with it. And you can be very, very successful in some of these markets. I've met somebody a while back at a garage sale, and I bought some comics from them and some stuff. All they do is sell on Whatnot, and they're huge jewelry sellers on Whatnot, but they spread out to some other stuff. They were on eBay for a while and they quit. That's all they do is just non-stop jewelry auctions. They do very, very well. That's their entire business model. So, you know, eBay though, is basically a $10 billion company, right? And you look at the next closest competitor would probably be, if you were looking at this, the competitor, not Amazon. Amazon's way out of everybody's league, but probably would be Mercari. And I think Mercari did somewhere around 1.6 billion. Is what they estimate from last year, and we don't know how much Poshmark makes, but it's in the millions, right? It's not as big as everybody else, but you know, we've seen some things happen, and I gotta say, we saw Poshmark. I think Poshmark did it, and then they changed it, you know, the rate, fees, and all this stuff, and then Mercari went in there and they tried it. They tried to go in and change their fees and their rates, and, you know, take it away. No fees to sellers, right? All the fees were the buyers. And I think that experiment was a failure. They realized right away it wasn't doing well. And I think they lost some market share. I think this is going to hurt them for a little while when they did that. I was not excited about it. A lot of people were, and I was like, why? Because you're going to chase away buyers. Buyers don't understand that. Unless you're an auction buyer, you don't understand what an auction premium is. I mean, if I've bought stuff from Golden Auctions, I bought stuff from Heritage, I bought comics from them, and I have to pay a fee at the end of everything. So if I bought something for $100, I have to pay either $19 or $29 or like 7% or something, depending on the amount of value that you buy. So it's a big number, and you know, but you just know if you're buying from those auctions, that's what you do. So you have to factor that cost in. But on Mercari, people just weren't set up for that. They just weren't doing it. So even though you can drop your prices, you try to make it look better, it's still a number that people have to pay, and it's still something that kind of stands in their way of making that decision. So I think it did hurt them a little bit, but we see eBay raising fees. And, you got to think, is eBay doing everything they can for their sellers? And I get it. Costs go up, right? It costs more to advertise. Technology costs more. With AI now, generative AI, large language models, all those things cost money to do. And granted, eBay is trying. They're trying to make things easier for sellers. They're bringing out new tools. Their technology is growing. We've seen them lay off a bunch of people, but I've seen recently, even though they laid off a bunch of service people or customer service people, I'm getting better customer service now than I had in the past. So when I have a problem, I seem to be able to get a hold of someone. Some people say they can't, but I've never had a problem. So, so I think that, they're trying to make headway in some areas, but raising fees, that's a hard thing. And that makes me think, is that, there might be better ways to do it. I'm not hearing ads everywhere for eBay. I do hear some, every once in a while on the radio, every once in a while on TV. I see some advertising. I see some things happening where eBay's trying to get the word out there. But it's not a regular thing. So, so where is all that money going? And it seems like unless you promote, you really can't get your stuff seen. I'm having a hard time to even thinking. I've tried it on some items where I just put no promotion on there, and I'm not getting anywhere with them. As soon as I put 2 to 4%, I get somewhere with them. So I've been leaving it all my stuff at about 2 to 4% on everything. So you think about it, I'm paying most categories between 12 and 15%. And then I'm paying another 2 to 4% on top of that. And I pay the fees on everything, the entire sale, right? So if I sell something for $100 and I have $10 shipping, and there's tax on it, say $3 tax, and it's $113, I pay the fee on the entire amount. So, and that's because back in the early days, if you don't know this, eBay didn't used to charge fees on shipping. You had these genius people who would charge you $1 for something and $99 shipping. eBay caught on to that very quick. One of the things I'll say that I like about this new district platform on Dibdit, they're not charging it on that. They're not charging their fee on the shipping. They're only charging the fee on the sale, which is great. Now, the credit card charge, like 2.9%, is on the entire amount, but that's credit card and you can't do anything about that. But, so the fees are still less. You're still paying less than probably 14% on average over there, and you're not paying on the entire amount. So whatever your shipping is, you're not paying that. Now, if somebody goes over there and starts playing that same old game, they'll catch it quickly and they'll nip it in the bud, and that'll be the end of that person on that market. It's just the way it is, right? eBay could do the same thing, which drives me crazy. If eBay would just do that one thing, and if anybody from eBay ever hears this, listen to this. If you just do one thing, you have the ability to use these large language models now, AI. Go out there and teach it to look at the shipping on these things and figure out if someone's overcharging. Charge the fees on the full rate, not the shipping. Why not? I mean, why couldn't you do it? AI can do that for you, and it can discover when there's a problem and tell you and flag that person's account. It wouldn't take too many times for someone to get shut down to say, okay, well, that's not going to happen. We're not going to do that anymore. We're going to charge fair fees. Or you make the shipping flat rate and you don't charge the fee on that, and that's the only thing you do. There's ways they can do it, but who knows if they ever will. But or are they going to keep raising fees? I mean, at what point is it going to be now? So I know when I figure how much an item costs, I buy something, and the first thing in my head is I go, I can sell this item for $20. Let's say I pay $2 for it. Now, it seems reasonable, right? But I know on that $20 that I sell, and I'm probably going to say, let's just say I have to do $5 shipping. I know I'm going to pay fees on $25. So, 20% of 5, whatever that comes out to, what, $5? So automatically I know that I'm going to have to accept $15 for what I'm going to make minus whatever I cost. So $13, right? So that's just the way I have to figure it in my head. So I always just figure 20% because I figure by the time you do everything, boxes, everything, 20%. And that will include maybe even your expenses on buying the item or anything like that. So it's a tough balancing act to try to figure out. And I've been talking about it before, and I've already said this, that, I'm debating about what I'm going to do. I was thinking about dropping List Perfectly. I thought about it and thought about it and thought about it, but here's what I thought. In the end, I'm going to drop it down to the lowest package. And the reason why, I'm not making enough sales on Mercari or Poshmark to warrant having the auto delist. Sell something, I'll just go delist it. Done, all right? I'm not going to worry about it. eBay always wins. Poshmark and Mercari would lose if that was the case and something sold at the same time. So as long as I remember to do that, and that's a habit I'll get into and I will just do, and I'll save that $70 a month, and I'm going to use it for other stuff. I've been using a new tool for videos called vidIQ, and I'll talk about that sometime when I do the tools talk about tools that I'm using. But, you know, so those are the things. I'm going to stay on those markets and just keep pushing stuff over there. But it's not going to be my focus. I'm not going to spend my time doing that. I'm going to actually look at some other stuff. And one of the things that I'm going to do is this week, and I'll put some more information out there about it, but this week, Tuesday and Thursday at 7 p.m. Central Time, I'm going to do my first Dibdit live auction. I'm going to go on and sell media. I have some really cool DVDs, really cool older DVDs, not new ones, but like older ones, like classics. And I have a bunch of media CDs. Like I've been collecting CDs since CDs started. I actually started collecting CDs in Germany when I was over there in the Army, and that was 1986 to 89. So I've got CDs from then that are really, really old that were made in Germany. And I've got a bunch that just, you know, and I don't listen to them anymore because I have, you know, music streaming and everything else, and I can listen to anything I want. So they're just sitting there, and they really need to go to somebody who cares. So that's what I'm having this Tuesday, this Thursday at 7 o'clock. I'm going to try a new platform. I'm going to try selling on Dibdit, dibdit.com, DIBDIT.com. And if you use BreezeFlippers, you get $5 off your $10 purchase. And I think you'll find some cool stuff that we're going to do. And you'll find some other people selling some very cool stuff over there as well. So, but that's kind of my thought. eBay isn't dead. eBay's not dying. eBay's not going anywhere. But eBay's going to face some tough competition. I think especially we're in this era now of this, you know, with AI, generative AI, and these large language models are getting smarter and smarter and smarter and smarter. And I'm going to talk a little bit about some of those tools that I use in some of the upcoming videos. But they are getting so good, right, that it's going to make it easier and lower the barrier for entry for a lot of people. Now, eBay is doing better with their tools. They're trying to make things easier. But I will still say that they make it still kind of hard to list. It's going to scare away some people because it's a little bit more of a challenge to list on eBay than it is on Poshmark or Mercari. Poshmark is literally 5 things. It's like photos, it's like a few categories, a description, and that's pretty much it. I mean, and it's price, and that's it. So, and it has some quirks, but I think somebody can list something in about a minute if you really wanted to. Snap a couple pictures and get some decent pictures, a good description, and boom, you're done. Mercari, not that hard either. It's just a few things, maybe a couple things more, but it's really easy. But eBay takes a little bit of work, takes some practice. You could list a lot of stuff on eBay and do it very badly and never make a sale. So I think it takes a little bit more work. Now eBay's trying to make that better with AI, and we'll see how it goes and we'll see what they do. But it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to make it easy for people to enter. Tell you, other thing that's going to scare people away in the next year is the tax laws, because people seem to think that if you get a 1099, you have to pay taxes, and that's the only time you pay taxes. Where in truth, if you make any money at all, you should be paying taxes. If I make $100, I should be paying taxes. I pay my taxes. I pay my fair share. I pay more than my fair share. But, you know, so that's going to scare a lot of people away when it gets its way down to $2,500 or wherever it ends up. If it ends up at $600, I don't think this administration is going to let it go that low, but we'll see. But, you know, either way, I mean, we should be paying taxes regardless. But I think it's going to scare people away if they moved it to $600. I don't think people are going to want to sell. They just don't want to mess with it, right? So that's going to be interesting to see where that goes. But I'd like to hear what your comments are. Tell me, how's eBay doing for you guys? Are you thinking about doing anything else? Let's get a conversation going about this, because I'd like to see what other people are doing, and share some of your comments, because like I said, it's not dead for me. It's not setting the world on fire, but neither is Mercari. So this is the reason why I have a booth. That's the reason we have a booth. We make some money on a booth, and it gets rid of stuff for us that we wouldn't otherwise want to sell online. It's too much to ship, too much of a problem, doesn't make enough profit, sells well there. I like that. But you know, this is the reason I'm looking at Dibdit too. I've got probably 8,000 to 10,000 comics that I'm going to sell over there. I'm just going to sell them because if I get $1 or $2, I'm doing good. So I'm going to sell those over there. I'm going to sell the media, and we're going to do some other stuff too. So I want to hear what you guys are going to do, how it's going to work, and I hope that you guys can come check out my show. You'll see this in the show notes. All right, let's look at the last couple things that sold because these are the best. I sold some more comics. All right, these are the Sergeant Fury comics, and we got Sergeant Fury number 80, 81, and 82. And again, these are in remarkably good shape. A little bit off-white, but these are pretty old. So I think these are 1970s, early 1970s, 71, probably, yeah. And so this is 80, 81, and 82. And we got $31.44 for these. We'll get $6.99 shipping. So nice looking comics. Again, these were part of a big buy that I made off of Golden Auctions. So I bought out an entire run of almost all of the Sergeant Furies. It was just missing the most expensive ones, like number 1 and number 12 or 13. Can't remember which one, but anyway, I had some copies of those otherwise. And this is just literally sold today. And this one hurts my heart a little bit, guys, because I love this comic. This is actually was on my wall because I just loved it. So it is actually Marauders number 22, and it's Emma Frost. This is a Segovia Virgin edition. It is an Unknown Comics street level hero and comics trader exclusive. So beautiful comic. Comes out in 9.8. It's one of the ones I sent off and got back a whole bunch of 9.8s, but it is a beautiful comic. I did actually pick this up on Whatnot. I don't remember where or what, but I did pick it up on Whatnot. And now, who doesn't love Emma Frost? But anyway, all things must go, but I'm a collector. I am a collector, so I do collect. And this one particularly for the art because it's just a beautiful cover, but I also am a reseller. And everything I have as a collector for a price can be resold, and the price on this one was $93.49, and I got $12.99 shipping. So I don't even have $25 in it, so it's a pretty good profit, and I'm not going to complain about it. So anyway, someone else gets to go enjoy that for a while, and I got to fill a spot on my wall now with another comic, so I'll have to find a good one that I want to put up there. So and I've got a whole bunch that I need to send off to CGC, but I'm just waiting. I'm going to wait probably until early spring or maybe later in the spring actually and send off a bunch because I have a bunch of Sergeant Fury's like key comics that are really good that I think could, fetch pretty good money. But those cost more to get graded, and I'm going to send them to a different person to get them cleaned and pressed because I'm not going through that mess again with CGC. So, but anyway, that's what's going on this week, guys. It's been interesting. Again, if you get a chance, come check us out on Dibdit Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central Time, DIBDIT.com. Sign up, use BreezeFlippers as your sign up code, and you will get $5 off your first $10 purchase. And to get to the lives, you just go to the Dibdit, and once you log in and sign in as a buyer, you just go over to the lives and you'll see it. You'll say our logo, BreezeFlippers, and it'll say media. I don't remember what it says. Media sell, media blowout, I think. But anyway, so come check and see what we have. And if anything, you don't want to buy anything, just come say hi. That'll be fun too. So anyway, that's what's going on today. I hope your week is great. I hope you're safe. I hope you enjoy the Super Bowl or enjoyed it by the time you see this. And I hope the Eagles win. But we'll see what happens. I think it's going to be a good game either way. So I'm David Beckham, BreezeFlippers. We'll see ya.